In this video, we're going to take what we have currently been building with NextAuth and Next and doing the formic validation and all of that from our previous video, and we're going to spice it up a little bit and add some design elements to it. Right now it's looking pretty plain Jane, and it'd be nice to actually throw in like a UI library on top of that and actually get something that looks okay, or at least something that works with the design aspects of the app. So let's go ahead and switch over, and you can kind of see what we're dealing with right now on the right hand side. There's not much, it's just a whole bunch of gobbledygook that's thrown on the page. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing called Chakra UI, and we're going to use it, which is actually, it's built off of Emotion, which is a styled components CSS and JS type of library. We're going to take this, and then we're going to basically abstract out some UI components and just basically make the app look a little bit better. So if I hit get started, you can kind of see exactly what we need to do. We just need to copy this line right here, and we need to install everything that's required. It uses Emotion, but on top of that, it uses Framer Motion on top of that for all the UI animations. So you can see down here, set up a provider. We just need to actually set up this provider. Perfect place to do that would be inside of our _app. So we just need to come over here, and we need to import Chakra provider. We can actually remove this styles thing. We don't need that anymore. And then we just need to wrap our main component with this Chakra provider. That way we have access to all of our styles on top. If we did that right, we should see our app look a little bit different. So let's go ahead and say yarn dev to start it back up. It's really just resetting some styles, so it's not going to look too drastically different, but you'll see that, like, some of the resets that happen. So if we come over here, you'll see this is what it looks like currently. Refresh, and you'll see that. Okay, so the buttons no longer have the outlines they normally do, and it just looks a little bit different. Text, I think, is a different type of text. It's just because Chakra under the hood uses its own defaults for things. But what we get from this is we can actually start using this Chakra UI library. So first thing what we're going to do is we're going to create like a folder. We're just going to call this components. So let's go ahead and create a folder, called it components. And the reason why we're doing this outside of pages is pages actually tries to create pages for each file that's in here, or each React component. So we don't want these to be actual pages. We just want them to be components inside of a page. So we're going to call a new one, call it nav.js. And then we can actually start using that inside of our pages. So we're just going to come over here. Actually, let's create this in the top layer component. So let's go ahead and import this nav here, because this is going to be like a common component on all the pages. So we're going to say nav, import nav from, we're going to go back a directory, go to components, and then go to nav. And so then we can just throw this nav right here. And then another thing that we might want to do is, let's see, of course there is no, let's go ahead and create a boilerplate component here. So that should work. And then so now we also want to make this a little bit nicer to where it's flexed out. So the top nav is up top, components on bottom. Kind of already looks like that, but let's just go ahead and do this. There's a flex component that we get from this. So I can just basically throw this flex component right here. And you'll see that like nothing's really going to change, but if I actually, it does change a little bit. So it puts everything side by side flex wise, mainly because this component doesn't really have any structure inside of it. So one of the things we might want to do is go over here, and instead of this, we'll just call this flex for now. And then we should be able to do import. Let's just do that same import that we have in nav, or actually in app. We just need this import over here. And then we don't need that anymore. So that should space things out a little bit better. Also, on top of that, we want to make this, if you've used CSS properties before in React using like the style prop that you can use, this is kind of going to be similar. So it's basically taking CSS properties and putting it on. So we want to say justify content. Actually, flex direction is probably what we want. Flex direction. And then let's say this is going to be column. And let's make sure. So we have 3 different elements here. We also want inside of that component, inside of this right here, we want this to have the same thing. So this is going to be flex direction column. And there we go. That gives us a better layout that we had previously. A couple other things is we're going to move this session stuff over to our nav. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this over here. I'm going to paste that there. And then also we want this other part, this sign up button, because it's not going to be part of just the core app. It's part of the core app, so it needs to be part of our nav. And then also we can go ahead and take this, move it over here, and then we're just going to take this flex and put it here. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, this needs to be outside of that for that to work. Session is not present. That's because we need to move that out. So there's session right there. We're doing session check, so we still need it in here, but we probably also need it in our main. So we can also use a use session hook. So I'm going to use that instead of this await session. So we're going to come over here and say use session. And I don't think that requires anything there. And we don't need to await it. So there we're still going to get our session. Use session is going to, of course, come from up here, this next auth that we already have. So I'm just going to come up here, import use session. From there. So that should still work. We should still have our session. We should still have the sign out stuff. So if there is a session, then when we need to, so we can actually just switch this around and be like, okay, so if there is a session, we're going to do this. Else, we're going to do that. That way we only have either a sign out or a sign in button depending on our state. So the next thing that we want to do is we already have this flexed. Let's go ahead and create a background color. I can just say BG, let's say blue, and we'll go blue 500. That works for now. We want the color of the text to be white. So I'm just going to say white for the color. Let's add some padding. So the thing with Chakra is it has different props for padding. So you can say padding, that'll be all of them. But you can also say P, that's all of them as well. But you can say PT, which is P top. You can say PY, which is P top and bottom, so the Y axis. You can say PX, left and right axis, PR, PB for bottom, PL for P left. So you can do padding all you want. Generally, padding is more on the left and right than on the top and bottom. So what I generally do is PX. And then it also has different different ways of doing padding. So it says 2 right there, but the way that Chakra set up, that's not 2 pixels. That's actually its own style guideline on how that works. So that'll work good there. Now we want to flex end. So we'll say justify content flex end. That should push the sign out to the right hand side. So now we have that sign out. Also, that is a button right now, which is fine. We can actually make that a nicer looking button. So I can come up here and say button. And then we're just going to switch out this button for Chakra button. And again, that looks a little weird, but we can actually come over here to the docs and I can say button. And you can kind of see like how this all works, how the color schema works, how the sizes work. So I can say size small to make that a little bit smaller. So I can come here and say size small. So that should make that a little bit smaller. We need to make sure that we do this to both buttons. So that, let's go a little bit. Actually, you know what? I am also zoomed in. So that's what it looks like normally. So actually, you know what? I think the normal size will probably be better. And also let's make a padding PY of like 2 on this. So the same thing that you can do with the flex, you can do the same thing here. Or actually not PY, we want margin because there's already a padding inside the button. So margin top and bottom. The next thing is color-wise for this button, we can actually change how it works. So let's do a variant of this and we can make the variant outline. Probably a good variant. So variant outline. And so there we go. So now we still have the sign up button. Hover state's a little weird. There's probably another variant that we can use. We can try ghost. But I also, let's see, we can say color schema. We'll do color schema blue and see what happens to this. There we go. That looks better. Except for, let's try instead of blue, let's ghost. Or not blue, outline instead of outline, do ghost. Let's just remove that variant, see what happens. There we go. That's better. That'll work for now. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. So now that we have the sign out button, that works. If I hit sign out is not defined. So we need to come back and actually we just need to take sign out and sign in from there. So sign out. All right, sign in. It's actually, if I hit sign out and go back, does it auto redirect? It does. So technically we don't even need the sign in button anymore. It won't actually be shown. So let's just go ahead and remove that. And we'll do it. We don't even need the session there technically because it'll redirect beforehand. So we'll just keep that there like that. And then let's see. I think that works for now. We can actually put the user on the left-hand side if we wanted to. Do we want to do that? Maybe. Actually, let's just remove that. I don't know if that's really necessary to have that signed in user. So let's come down here and just remove that. Especially if we may not know the email address, it may not actually be even useful. And then come back to the nav. Let's change the, let's do this 1 instead of 2. All right. That looks okay. You can also do a drop shadow. So I can say shadow. We can do small or medium. You can kind of see the shadow there. Next important things is like these form inputs. So Chakra has a way of doing form inputs to make them look nicer. So if I say like form control, we can use all of this type of form control thing. So we can actually set this up to look a lot nicer. So let me go ahead and pull all of these into that index page. Actually, they're just form fields. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. We're just going to paste them there. And then we can just use this whole form wrapper right here. And we can change up how this input works. So now we don't really need this div. We can call it just a form control because that's what it technically is. We can say that the title is going to be that. And then we don't really need a form helper, but we do need the error state. So let's say there's also a form error message. So right below this form control, we can do this, and we can just do that same form error right here. And also we can say, I think there's a on error prop. I think it might be a prop, on error prop. Let's see. Form filled validate is valid, is invalid. That's what I need, is invalid. All right. Oh, we don't need that, and we don't need that. Save that. Input is coming from probably input. So let's do input there. And so now we can remove this first part. This is going to be title. And same thing down here. We can just paste this. And this is going to be body. These need to be title, body. And then we can remove this. We still probably need to pass in these things. This is going to be text area from Chakra. Now we can remove this. Make sure we are importing text area in. And then, of course, we also need this up top in our input right here. And let's see what we have in over here. If I refresh. All right, it's looking better. We also have, so that required field's there. It's already has the asterisk. That looks fine. Let's go ahead and like move this. Let's see. Let's do a box here. And that way we can do let's see, mx4, my2, and then let's do a shadow. Let's do large shadow and border color gray 300, border 1 pixel solid. Let's do something like that. Box is another thing that comes from Chakra. That looks kind of ugly. Let's see. Instead of 3, can we do like 100? What's that look like? You know what? This gray is probably with an A. Oh, no. Let's see if I can get some IntelliSense here. Gray 50. Didn't really change the color at all. All right, let's scrap the border. Let's see what it looks like without the border. Wow, still kind of ugly. Let's do some padding though. Let's say px2, py1. All right, and do we want the shadow? Let's go ahead and drop the shadow. It's not really even giving us anything nice. All right, so that looks a little bit better. We can also put some more padding in between these form controls. So I can say like right here, margin bottom 4. There we go. And then for the submit, let's go ahead and make that an actual button. From Chakra. And then we want to do the color schema blue. And then we'll say margin top 2. And then I think that looks good. So now when I type in here, actually when I type in there, it doesn't type. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, that's because that needs to be title. So if I hit submit, you'll get the required fields. That'll look nice. I can actually type inside of here and I can hit submit and it'll submit, and then we'll actually see nothing because it cleared out the fields. So in the next video, we'll probably go through and have a way to actually see all of the posts that we've been submitting for the last couple of videos. But in this video, we added some styles using Chakra to make it look a little bit better than it did before. We can now sign in, sign out. We have this nice way of looking at the required fields. They look nice. They don't actually look like plain Jane HTML anymore. So let me know if you like this video. Make sure you hit the subscription button, subscribe if you did like it, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.